My girlfriend slept with her boss while I was working night shifts to support her now. She's jobless, and I own the company she betrayed me for. I'm a 28-year-old guy, and I used to believe that hard work could fix everything. I thought if I just pushed through the exhaustion, the loneliness, and the endless nights, it would all be worth it, that love and sacrifice would somehow balance out in the end. Every evening, when most people were settling in for dinner, I was clocking in at the warehouse. The air always smelled like metal and sweat. Machines hummed like an endless heartbeat. And I'd lose track of time stacking pallets, scanning shipments, and pushing through the kind of fatigue that made your bones ache. I'd get home around dawn, hands shaking from overuse, and sometimes Emma would already be up, perfectly dressed, her hair done, ready to chase her marketing dreams. She'd smile and say, "You're doing this for us," and that used to make me feel proud, like I was part of something bigger. Our small apartment wasn't much peeling paint, a leaky faucet, and a mattress that creaked every time we turned, but to me, it was a home built on teamwork and hope. I used to imagine the day I'd surprise her with a vacation, maybe propose once we were stable. But slowly, things changed. She started coming home later than me, which was saying something. Her outfits got sharper, her perfume stronger, and her phone never left her hand. When I asked if she wanted to have dinner together before my shift, she'd sigh, saying, "You're always too tired. We're just on different schedules." I told myself it was stress, that success was demanding her time the same way survival demanded mine. But deep down, something was off, a quiet tension growing in the spaces between our conversations, and I couldn't shake the feeling that, while I was working to build our future, she was already chasing hers. A few months later, Emma came home with this glow I hadn't seen before, the kind that made me forget how tired I was. She dropped her purse on the counter and said, "You're looking at the new senior marketing executive." I remember smiling so hard my cheeks hurt. I picked her up, spun her around, and told her she deserved it. Every sleepless night, every extra shift, every missed meal, it suddenly felt worth it. She said her boss Darren had been mentoring her for months and thought she had exceptional potential. I didn't think twice. I was proud that someone recognized how talented she was. But soon after that promotion, everything changed. Her schedule became unpredictable. Client dinners, networking events, and late meetings filled her calendar. Sometimes she wouldn't get home until 2 a.m. I'd wait up, bleary-eyed, half asleep on the couch, just to hear her key in the lock. She'd laugh softly and say, "You don't need to wait for me, babe. Go rest." One night, I noticed a faint cologne that wasn't mine lingering on her coat. I joked about it, trying to sound casual. She rolled her eyes. "Oh my God, it's from the office. Darren wears too much. Seriously." Then she walked away before I could say anything else. I wanted to believe her. I needed to believe her. I told myself I was just tired, paranoid from working too much. Still, the small things started to feel bigger. Her phone always face down. Her sudden obsession with fitness, the new dresses she swore were for client impressions. I started counting her smiles, realizing how few were left for me. And yet, even as my gut screamed that something wasn't right, I kept convincing myself that this was just what ambition looked like. That's the lie that kept me blind. The distance between us wasn't measured in miles. It was in the silence that settled over dinner. The awkward pauses that used to be laughter. Emma became someone I couldn't recognize. She used to text me during my breaks, little things like "miss you" or "come home safe." Now, hours would pass without a single word. One evening, I came home earlier than usual after my shift was cut short. She was on the balcony, talking on her phone, voice low but playful. When she saw me, she startled, like she'd been caught doing something wrong. "Just a client," she said quickly, hanging up. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. That night, she critiqued my job for the first time. "You've been there for years, babe. Don't you want more? You're smart, but you're wasting it lifting boxes." The words stung more than I expected. I told her I was doing it for us, to give her stability while she climbed higher. She just shrugged and muttered, "Maybe I don't need that kind of help anymore." I tried to laugh it off, but something inside me cracked. I started noticing the details I'd ignored before. The makeup she never wore for me, the way her phone lit up with messages she'd quickly swipe away, the distant tone when I asked simple questions, even the way she said my name changed. It used to sound like home. Now it sounded like an obligation. At work, my coworkers noticed I was quieter, slower, One of them, an older guy named Mark, asked if I was okay. I said, "Just tired." He chuckled sadly and said, "Sometimes tired means something else, kid." I didn't know it then, but he was right. The exhaustion wasn't from work anymore. It was from pretending everything was fine when it clearly wasn't. Single quotes T. It happened on a Friday night, one of those cold, quiet evenings when the city feels half asleep. My car had broken down right after my shift, only a few blocks from Emma's office. I figured maybe it was fate. Maybe I'd surprise her, grab late dinner together, remind her what we used to have. I bought her favorite takeout, Thai noodles and a slice of cheesecake, and walked toward the glass building where she worked. The lights on the upper floors were still on, even though it was nearly midnight. I remember feeling proud that she was still grinding, the same way I had for us. Then I saw them. Through the tinted glass of the lobby, Emma walked out laughing. Not just polite laughter, but the kind that crinkles her eyes and makes her forget the world. Next to her was Darren. His hand brushed her lower back, and she didn't move away. Then, right there under the dim streetlight, he leaned in and kissed her. She didn't hesitate. She kissed him back like she'd done it 100 times. The bag in my hand slipped. Food scattered across the wet pavement. I just stood there, frozen, watching the woman I'd built my world around melt into someone else's arms. Every night shift, every penny saved, every word of encouragement, it all turned to ash in that moment. I didn't storm in. I didn't yell. I just walked back to my broken car and sat inside, gripping the steering wheel until my knuckles went white. When she came home hours later, I pretended to be asleep. She climbed into bed beside me, smelling faintly of perfume and betrayal. And as I stared at the ceiling, I realized the cruel truth I'd been breaking my body to build a future she'd already left behind. The next morning, I sat at the kitchen table waiting for her. My hands trembled, not from anger yet, but from disbelief. When Emma walked in, hair damp from her shower, humming like nothing had happened. I felt something inside me snap. "I saw you," I said quietly. She froze. "What do you mean?" "I was near your office last night. You and Darren." My throat tightened. "I saw you kissing him." Her eyes widened, then narrowed. You're spying on me now?" she snapped, voice sharp like glass. "I wasn't spying," I said. My car broke down. "I was trying to surprise you," she scoffed, crossing her arms. "You're being ridiculous." Darren was comforting me. We had a stressful week, comforting. I interrupted, with his mouth. For a second, her mask slipped, panic flashing across her face, but she quickly recovered. "You're imagining things. You've been so overworked, you don't even trust your own eyes anymore." That line cut deep. She twisted my exhaustion into a weapon. I sat there in silence as she walked past me, muttering about needing space from this negativity. For the next few days, she treated me like I was crazy. Every time I tried to talk, she'd roll her eyes. "You're obsessed with proving I'm cheating. Maybe you're just insecure." The gaslighting worked for a while. I started doubting myself, wondering if grief and fatigue had warped what I saw. Maybe it was just a friendly moment taken out of context. Maybe love was supposed to hurt like this. But then, one night, as she showered, her phone buzzed on the counter. I didn't want to look. I really didn't, but the message preview said everything. "Last night was incredible. Can't stop thinking about you. Darren." And just like that, her lies shattered completely. When I confronted her again, there was no room for denial. I showed her the message, the timestamp, the proof that ended every excuse. She just stared at me for a long moment before whispering, "So what? You never made me feel alive anymore." It's strange how betrayal doesn't explode, it sinks. Her words didn't come out as screams. They came out calm, surgical, cutting through me in ways I didn't know were possible. I asked her how long it had been going on. She said, "Does it matter now?" That broke me. She packed a few bags that night. No tears, no apology. Just silence, like I was an inconvenience she'd finally outgrown. I watched her walk out with the same confidence she used to have when walking toward her dreams. Only this time, I wasn't part of them. The next morning, the apartment felt haunted. Her perfume still lingered in the air, mocking me. I sat on the couch for hours, staring at the empty spot where her keys used to hang. Friends tried to reach out, but I ignored their calls. What could I even say? That the woman I sacrificed everything for didn't just cheat, she erased me. Days turned into weeks. I stopped eating right. My shift suffered. I'd show up late, work mechanically, go home, and stare at the ceiling until the sun came up. I told myself I deserved this pain, that maybe I hadn't been enough. Then, through mutual friends, I found out she'd told people I was the toxic one, that I'd been controlling, that she felt suffocated. The same people who once congratulated us now avoided me like a rumor. That's when I hit rock bottom, not because she left, but because I realized she'd taken my reputation to dot, and for the first time in my life, I had nothing left to lose. Rock bottom doesn't announce itself, it just quietly becomes your new normal. I stopped caring about sleep, food, or the calendar. But one night, sitting in that empty apartment, surrounded by echoes of her laughter, something inside me shifted. I remember whispering to myself, if pain can destroy me, maybe it can also build me. That thought became the spark. I threw myself into self-improvement, like a man possessed. Every break at the warehouse turned into time spent on my phone, watching business lectures, reading articles about startups, logistics, supply chains, anything that could teach me how to climb. I took online courses during the day and worked nights to pay for them. The exhaustion was brutal, but it was different this time. It wasn't hopeless. It was fuel. Weeks turned into months. Slowly, I started feeling alive again. Not happy, not healed, but driven. My supervisor noticed the change. "You've got something in your eyes again," he said one night. That same week, I met Mr. Harlan, an old logistics consultant who visited our warehouse for an audit. We talked about operations, efficiency, and ambition. Before he left, he said, "If you ever start your own thing, call me." That sentence played on repeat in my head for days. I didn't have money, but I had knowledge and fire. I began freelancing online, helping small businesses organize their shipping systems. It started small, but it grew fast. People liked my precision, my honesty, my refusal to quit. For the first time since Emma left, I felt control returning one invoice, one late night, one client at a time. She took my love and left me with nothing. But she didn't realize she also left me with hunger, and hunger has a funny way of turning into power. A year passed, and the man I used to be was gone. The sleepless worker who begged for validation had turned into someone sharper, colder, maybe, but focused. My freelance gigs turned into contracts, and those contracts turned into clients who trusted me. Soon, I registered my own company, a small logistics and operations firm run out of a rented office, barely big enough for 2 desks and a coffee machine that never worked right. But it was mine. Every inch of it. I poured everything into that business. The discipline I learned from night shifts, the patience I developed from heartbreak, the determination forged in loneliness. Mr. Harlan became my mentor, guiding me through deals, negotiations, and the brutal realities of growth. "Pain," he once said, "makes the best entrepreneurs. You already survived your worst day. Everything after that is strategy." And he was right. The company started growing faster than I could have imagined. Clients referred me, investors took interest, and soon I was managing a small team. For the first time, I wasn't surviving. I was leading. Then one day, my assistant came in with a folder and said, "We got a new partnership request. It's from Sterling Marketing." I froze. That was her company. The same place she'd built her shiny new life with Darren, the man she'd thrown me away for. They were looking for a logistics partner for a major campaign. I stared at the proposal. MY name listed under potential contractor. The irony hit hard. They didn't even realize whose company they'd reached out to. I smiled for the first time in a long while, not the kind that hides pain, but the kind that knows destiny sometimes has a cruel sense of humor. I'd take the meeting. The meeting was scheduled for a Wednesday morning at 10 a.m. I wore my best suit, charcoal gray, crisp white shirt, no tie. Confidence doesn't need decoration. As I stood in the elevator of Sterling Marketing, my heart wasn't racing with nerves anymore. It was calm, focused, controlled. The receptionist greeted me with a polite smile and offered coffee. "They'll be with you shortly," she said. I waited, looking around the sleek office that used to feel so far out of reach, the same place Emma once described as the start of our better life. Then the glass door opened. Darren walked in first. Shaking my hand with a fake smile plastered across his face, "Mr. Hayes, thank you for coming. We've heard great things about your company." His tone was friendly, professional, oblivious. But the moment Emma walked in behind him, the air changed. She froze. Her smile vanished like color draining from a photograph. "Nathan?" "Emma," I replied calmly, pretending not to notice the shock spreading across her face. "It's been a while." Darren looked between us, confused. "You two know each other." I kept my expression neutral. "We used to ... collaborate." She didn't speak. She couldn't. Her eyes darted toward the documents on the table. Then back to me, realizing this deal, this opportunity, was in my hands now. I went through the meeting like nothing had happened. Polite, confident, concise. Every word reminded her of the man she underestimated. When Darren offered a handshake at the end, I accepted it with a smile that didn't reach my eyes. As I walked out, I glanced at Emma one last time. She looked smaller somehow. The power she once held over me reduced to silence. For the first time in years, the balance had shifted, and she knew it too. After that meeting, things moved fast. Sterling Marketing signed the logistics deal without hesitation. Darren was desperate to cut costs, and my company offered better rates than anyone else. I played my role perfectly. Polite emails, timely updates, flawless execution. On the surface, it was business, but beneath it, every invoice was a quiet form of justice. Within months, cracks began to show. I'd overhear whispers during meetings, unpaid vendors, canceled campaigns, clients pulling out. Darren's charm couldn't save him from his own arrogance. He'd spent too much, too fast, chasing luxury over longevity. Emma looked exhausted in every meeting, her once polished confidence replaced by forced smiles and tense silences. Meanwhile, my company was thriving. Every time Sterling missed a payment, I documented it. Every time Darren made a poor decision, I adjusted contracts to protect my firm. I didn't sabotage them, I just watched them drown in their own mismanagement. Justice doesn't always need fire. Sometimes it's just gravity doing its job. One afternoon, I got a call from a mutual contact. "You heard about Sterling? They're filing for bankruptcy." I just leaned back in my chair, letting the words sink in. The company she betrayed me for, gone. The man she chose over me, ruined, and me. I was about to acquire the very pieces of their downfall. Through a holding company, I quietly purchased their remaining assets, their office space, client lists, and the Sterling name itself. When the deal closed, I signed the papers with a steady hand. The same logo that once stood as a monument to my humiliation now belonged to me. I didn't need revenge anymore. I already had it in contracts, signatures, and silence, but fate wasn't finished. Because just when I thought the story was over, she came back. It was late one afternoon when my assistant buzzed in and said, "There's a woman here asking for you. Says it's personal." I didn't think much of it until she said her name, Emma. For a moment, I just sat there, staring at the door. My heartbeat didn't quicken. There was no anger left, no excitement, no pain, just a quiet curiosity about what version of her would walk in. When she did, I barely recognized her. The confident, polished woman who used to tower over every room now looked smaller, tired eyes, chipped nails, and a nervous tremor in her voice. "Hi, Nathan," she said softly. "You look good." I didn't offer her a seat right away. I wanted to see what she'd do. "I heard you took over Sterling," she continued, her words stumbling out. "I just wanted to say congratulations. You always were." Determined, I finally gestured for her to sit. "Thank you," I said evenly. "I guess hard work pays off." She gave a broken laugh. "I guess it does." "Darren?" She hesitated, eyes dropping. He left. Took whatever money was left and disappeared. I lost my job. And my place, I stayed silent. The sound of the clock ticking filled the room. Then she said the line I'd somehow always known would come. "I made a mistake, Nathan. You were the only one who ever really cared about me. I was stupid. Can we just start over?" Her voice cracked, and for a second, I almost saw the woman I used to love. But then I remembered the man I'd become, the one she forged through betrayal and pain. I leaned forward slightly and said quietly, "You once told me I wasn't ambitious enough. Now you're sitting in my office, asking for another chance." She looked away, tears glinting under the fluorescent light. And I realized this wasn't revenge. This was closure. She sat there for a long time waiting for me to say something. Anything. I could see the storm behind her eyes, the regret, the guilt, the quiet desperation of someone who finally understood what they'd lost. But I felt nothing. No hate. No hunger for revenge. Just a strange, peaceful emptiness. "Emma," I said finally, my voice calm but steady, "you didn't just cheat on me. You made me believe I wasn't enough. You made me question every good thing about myself. And the worst part, I believed you." Her lip trembled. "I know," she whispered. "I was selfish. I thought I could do better, but no one ever loved me like you did." I smiled sadly. "You're right. No one ever will, because that version of me doesn't exist anymore." She looked up at me, searching for a trace of the man who used to wait for her, who used to break his back for her dreams. But that man was gone. In his place stood someone stronger, someone she'd unknowingly built by breaking. "I'm not angry anymore," I told her, "but I can't go back. You taught me what love shouldn't feel like, and for that, I'm grateful." Tears streamed down her face as she nodded, realizing this wasn't a power play. It was an ending. She stood, whispered a small goodbye, and walked out of my office the same way she once walked out of my life. Only this time, I didn't watch her go with pain. I watched her go with peace. When the door clicked shut, I turned toward the window. My company's logo gleamed across the neighboring building, the same company she once traded me for. Funny how life works. She chased success and lost herself in the process. I lost everything and found myself because sometimes the best revenge isn't destruction, it's evolution.